Good morning to all. Now we will continue with our code IS 13920-2016. I hope you have understand about the last six clauses that we have done in the last video. I will suggest you one thing. Keep your code with you either in the form of hard copy or soft copy with these videos for the better understanding of the clauses. And still, if you have any problem, any query with you, you can post your query at Google Classroom, or you can WhatsApp me, or you can call me as well. Now, moving to the next clause, that is clause number 7, columns and inclined members. Requirements of this section shall apply to columns and inclined members resisting earthquake-induced effects, in which the factored axial compressive stress due to gravity and earthquake effects exceeds 0.08 FCK. The factored axial compressive stress, considering all load combinations relating to seismic load, shall be limited to 0.40 FCK in all such members, except in those members that we will cover in clause number 10. For various shapes of columns other than rectangular and cylindrical, like T-shaped, X-shaped, etc., appropriate design and detailing shall be carried out using specialist literature where such columns are part of later load resisting elements. The minimum dimension of a column shall not be less than first 20 times dB, where dB is the diameter of the largest diameter longitudinal reinforcement bar in the beam passing through a or anchoring into the column at the joint, or it is 300. That means the minimum of these two, the minimum dimension of the column shall not be less than these two clauses. The cross-section aspect ratio, that is ratio of smaller dimension to the larger dimension of the cross-section of a column or inclined member, shall not be less than 0.05 0.045. Vertical members of RC buildings whose cross-section aspect is less than 0.4 shall be designed as per the requirement of clause 9. One can clearly see from this figure 7 that this should be minimum of these clauses. Moving to the next one, that is relative strength of beams and columns at a joint. At each beam column joint of a moment resisting frame, the sum of nominal design strength of column meeting at that joint, that means the meeting joint, with the nominal strength calculated for the factored axial load in the direction of the lateral force under consideration, so as to give least column nominal design strength. Along each principal plane shall be at least 1.4 times the sum of nominal design strength of beams meeting at a joint in the same planes. That means sigma MC should be greater than or equal to 1.4 times sigma MB. In the event of a beam column joint not conforming to the above, the column at that joint shall be considered to be gravity column only and shall not be considered as the part of the lateral load resisting system. That means if your clause is not satisfied, that means this clause is not satisfied, then you can't consider your column as the lateral load resisting element, but you can still consider it as the gravity column. Moreover, the design moments of resistance of a beam shall be estimated based on the principle of mechanics and the limiting strain states of the limiting state design method as per IS 456. The design moment of resistance of a column shall be estimated as in the case of beams corresponding to zero axial force on the design. And this check shall be performed at each joint for both positive and negative directions of shaking in the plane under consideration. Further, in this check, design moments of resistance in beam meeting at a joint shall be considered in the same direction, and similarly the design moments of resistance of column at the same joint shall be considered to be in the direction opposite to that of the moment in the beam. However, this check shall be waived at all joints at roof level only in buildings more than 4 story tall. That means we can waive off this check at the roof level only for the buildings that is more than 4 story. Now, next is the longitudinal reinforcement. For circular columns, the reinforcement shall have minimum of 6 bars. Next is the splicing of longitudinal bars. Again, here we have three types of splicing. First one is lap splices, second one is mechanical couplers, and the third one is welded splices. We adopt lap splices, then the closed link shall be provided over the entire length over which the longitudinal bars are spliced. Further, the spacing of these links shall not exceed 100 mm. Then the lap length shall not be less than the development length of the largest longitudinal reinforcement bar extension. Then lap splices shall be provided only in the central half of the clear column height and not on the joint or within a distance 2D from the face of the beam. This thing we have already discussed in the earlier sections as well. To continue with the lap splices, we have to take care of that it should not be more than 50% of the area of steel bars shall be spliced at any one section. Moreover, lap splices shall not be used for bars of diameter larger than 32 mm, for which mechanical splices shall be adopted. Like if your bar die is larger than the 32, we will not use this type of splices. We will prefer mechanical couplers. Now, for mechanical couplers, that should also conform to 16172. Further, only those mechanical splices conforming to the above standard, that means standard 16172, are capable of developing the specified tensile strength of spliced bar shall be permitted within a distance equal to 2 times the depth of the member from the column face in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. Now, when we are talking about the welded splices shall not be used in columns for a distance equal to 2 times the depth of the member from the member face or in any location where yielding of reinforcement is likely to take place. Further, at any location, not more than 50% of area of steel bar shall be spliced at any one section, but welding of links, ties, inserts, or other similar element to vertical reinforcement bar required as per design is not permitted in any of the seismic zone. One thing should be taken care of in those columns where more than 100 mm extension, more than 100 mm extension beyond the confined core is there. That means maybe due to the architecture requirements, the beyond the core, if this is the core of your column, if we are extending this beyond 100 mm beyond the core due to any architectural requirement, that should be done in the manner like when the contribution of this area is considered in the estimate of strength of columns, it shall have at least the minimum longitudinal and transverse reinforcement given in the standard. The second one is when the contribution of this area is not considered in the estimate of the strength of column, it shall have at least minimum longitudinal and transverse reinforcement as per IS 456. This is about the longitudinal reinforcement. Now, for transverse reinforcement shall consist of closed loop, spiral or circular links in circular columns, and rectangular links in rectangular columns. In either case, the closed link shall have 135-degree hook and ends with an extension of 6 times its diameter. Again, that should not be less than 65 mm at each end, which are embedded in the confined core of the column. You can clearly see this here. Here, that should be 60 or greater than equal to 65 mm and should be embedded in the core of the column. And these can be done in this way. Now, when rectangular links are used, there are certain requirements. The first requirement is the minimum diameter permitted of transverse reinforcement bar is 8 mm. When diameter of longitudinal bar is less than or equal to 35 mm and 10 mm, when diameter of longitudinal bar is more than 32 mm. That means when the main bar is up to 32 mm, you can use the transverse reinforcement, you can use the bar for this 8 mm. But when it is greater than 32 mm, you have to use it of 10 mm. The second criteria is the maximum spacing of parallel legs of links shall be 300 mm center to center. The next one is a cross tie shall be provided if the length of any side of the link exceeds 300 mm. You can see here a cross tie is provided when it is greater than 300. This is the cross tie that provided here. The cross tie shall be placed perpendicular to this link whose length exceeds 300 mm. Alternatively, a pair of overlapping links may be provided within the column that you can see here. A pair of overlapping links provided within the column. In either case, the hook ends of the link and cross tie shall engage around peripheral longitudinal bars. Consecutive cross ties engaging the same longitudinal bar shall have their 90-degree hooks on opposite sides of the column. Cross tie of the same or similar bar size as the hook shall be permitted, and the maximum spacing of links shall be half the lateral dimension of the column. Now, about the design shear force in columns. The design shear force demand on column is the larger of these two. And the first one is factored shear force demand as per linear structure analysis. And second is factored equilibrium shear force demand when plastic hinges are formed at both ends on the basis of given by these two equations. One is for sway to right and second is for sway to left, where MAS, MAH, MBS and MBH are the design sagging and hogging moments of resistance of beam framing into the column on opposite faces A and B respectively, with one hogging moment and other the sagging. And H is the height or the story height. The design moment of resistance of the beam section shall always be calculated by using IS 456. The calculation of design shear force capacity of RC column again we calculated as per 456 only. Moving to the next clause, the clause is special confining reinforcement. The requirement of this section shall be met within beam and columns unless a larger amount of transverse reinforcement is required from shear strength consideration as per clause 6.3.3 for beams and 7.5 for columns. The flexure yielding is likely in beams during strong earthquakes shaking, and in columns when the shaking intensity exceeds the expected intensity of earthquake shaking. This special confining reinforcement shall A. be provided over a length LO from the face of the joint towards midspan of beam and mid heights of column on either side of the joint, where your LO is not less than first larger later dimension of member at the section where yielding occurs, or 1/6 of the clip span of the member, or 450 mm. In case B, have a spacing not more than 1/4 of the minimum member dimension of the beam or column, 6 times diameter of the smallest longitudinal reinforcement bar, and 100 mm link. You can clearly observe this from figure where this is LO, special confinement reinforcement as per the clause provided here. Here, this is confined joint with beam framing into all four sides confining reinforcement as per this clause 8.2. Moving to the next part, here this is for the first case A. We have studied these requirements. Then case B. In case C, if it have area ASH of cross section of the bar forming links or spiral at least of these two. The first one is in circular links or spiral, second one in rectangular links. Here HP is the pitch of spiral or spacing of link. Decay is the diameter of the core of circular column measured to outside of spiral or link. Your FCK is the characteristic strength. Fy is the 0.2% proof strength of transverse steel reinforcement bars. And Ag is the gross area of column section. And Ak is the area of concrete core of column. The H here is the longer dimension of rectangular link measured to its outer face, which does not exceed 300 mm. In the next case, when provision of special confining reinforcement in footings. When a column terminates into a footing or mat, special confining reinforcement shall extend at least 300 mm into the footing or the mat. When the calculated point of contraflexure under the effect of gravity and earthquake effects is noted within the middle half of the member clear height, special confining reinforcement shall be provided over the full height of the column. Special confining reinforcement shall be provided over the full length of a column which has significant variation in stiffness along its height. The variation in stiffness may result due to abrupt changes in cross-section or unintended strain to the column provided by stair slab, mezzanine floor, plinth level, beams framing into column, RC wall or masonry wall adjoining column and extending only for partial column height. That means there are many cases where these things may happen. We need to provide the confining reinforcement to the column when it is going to the mat or footing, and this confining reinforcement that preferably to the full height, or if not we can have to provide at least of 300 mm. Now moving to the next clause, that is column within variable stiffness. That means where your stiffness varies at the different part of the columns. Columns supporting reactions from discontinuous stiff member such as walls shall be provided with special confining reinforcement over the full height. That means we need to provide the confinement reinforcement for their full height. The reinforcement shall also be placed above the discontinuity for at least the development length of the largest longitudinal bar in the column. Where the column is supported on a wall, this reinforcement shall be provided over the full height of the column. It shall also be provided below the discontinuity for the same development length. That in general, if I'm talking about if your wall or another type of components are going to attach with your column that may have the varied stiffness. That means the stiffness of the one part is different and stiffness of the other part is different. In that case, you need to provide the confinement reinforcement over the entire length. Now, the next clause is clause number 9, that gives you beam column joints of moment resisting frame. To start with this clause, the first is design of beam column joint for distortional. It contains three things. The first one is shear strength of concrete in a joint. The second one is design shear stress demand on a joint. And the third one is width of beam column joint. In the first part of the clause, that is shear strength of concrete in a joint, the nominal shear strength, that is TJC of concrete in a beam column joint, shall be taken as with these equation or formulas, and where AAJ is the effective shear area of joint given by Bj multiplied by Wj, in which Bj is the effective breadth of joint perpendicular to the direction of shear force. That means Bj is the perpendicular to the direction of shear force, and Wj is the effective width of joint along the direction of shear force. The effective width of joint shall be obtained from the this equation, that is minimum of BB or BC plus zero point 0.5 of SC if PEC is less than BB, where BB is the width of the beam, BC is the width of the column, and SC is the height of the column in the considered direction. The next part of the clause is design shear stress demand on a joint. Design shear stress demand acting horizontally along each of the two principal plane directions of the joint shall be estimated from earthquake shaking considered along each of the directions using these following two equations, where design shear force demands Vjdx and Vjdy acting horizontally on the joint in principal plane in directions x and y, that shall be estimated considering that the longitudinal beam bars in tension reach a stress of 1.25 Fy. The next is width of beam column joint. When beam reinforcement extends through beam column joint, the minimum width of the column parallel to beam shall be 20 times the diameter of the largest longitudinal beam bar. Now about the transverse reinforcement. First one is confining reinforcement in joints. When all four vertical faces of the joints are having beams framing into them, covering at least 75% of the width of each face, then at least half the special confining reinforcement required as per clause 8 at the two ends of the column and shall be provided through the joint within depth of the shallowest beam framing into it. And the second point is spacing of these transverse links shall not exceed 150 mm. Now, for the second case, when all four vertical faces of the joint are not having beam framing into them, or when all four vertical faces have beams framing into them but do not cover at least 75% of the width of any face. In that case, special confining reinforcement required as per clause 8 at the two ends of the column shall be provided through the joint within the depth of the shallowest beam framing into it, and spacing of these transverse links shall not exceed again 150 mm. In the exterior corner joints, all 135-degree hooks of cross ties should be along the outer face of the columns. Moving to the next clause, that is clause number 10, special shear walls. In this clause, we need to take care of all these parameters. The first one that this clause includes is the general requirements. then design for shear force, design for axial force and bending moments, then boundary elements, coupling beams, opening in walls, construction joints, development, splice and anchorage requirements. I advise you to go through all these parameters from your code. The values that are being used for the designing are well tabulated. Just go through all these parameters. That will be easier for you for the future reference. Then, if I talk about the general requirements, the requirements of this section apply to special shear walls that are part of later force systems of earthquake-resistant RC buildings. The minimum thickness of special shear walls shall not be less than 150 mm and 300 mm for buildings with coupled shear walls in any seismic zone. Then the minimum ratio of length of the wall to its thickness shall be 4. Special shear walls shall be classified as squat, intermediate or slender depending on overall height HW to length LW ratio as your squat length HW by LW shall be less than 1. Intermediate wall is 1 from 2, that means greater than equal to 1 and less than equal to 2, and if it is cylinder wall then your HW by LW ratio greater than 2. Special shear walls shall be provided with uniform spaced reinforcement in its cross section along vertical and horizontal directions. Moving to our next clause, that is clause number 11, gravity columns in buildings. In the earlier part of the video, I already told you about the gravity columns. Those columns that are not those are not counted in the lateral strength. Gravity columns in building shall be designed according to the clauses 1.1 and 1.2 of 13990 for bending moments induced when subjected to R times the design later displacement under the factored equivalent static design seismic loads that is given in the IS 1893. Gravity column shall satisfy the conditions 7.3.2, 7.4.1 and 7.4.2, but spacing of links along the full column height shall not exceed 6 times diameter of the smallest bar or 150 mm. Gravity columns with factored gravity axial stress exceeding 0.4 FCK shall satisfy the clause number 11.1.1 and shall have transverse reinforcement at least one half of special confining reinforcement that is required by clause number 8. I recommend to go for these clauses. I have already explained these clauses in the videos. Just open your code with the video so that the better understanding of all these clauses. Then when induced bending moments and shear forces under set lateral displacement combined with factored gravity bending moment and shear force exceed design moment and shear strength of the frame, again 11.2.1 and 2 shall be satisfied. Mechanical and welded splices shall be satisfy these requirements. We have already studied about mechanical welded splices. These are the same configuration that you will satisfy here, that you need to satisfy here for the tactile requirements. And just to avoid the overlapping, I have written these clauses. You can refer to these clauses from your code. Thank you.